Hey everyone, have you ever been cutting with your Origin? You're cutting wood and you're wondering, what else can I do with this thing?
Maybe foam, or cork, or plastic, or brass.
That's right, you can cut all kinds of different materials with Origin and BenchPilot. And today we just finished a show where we went through feeds and speeds, specific bits you want to use, everything you need to be successful to cut alternative materials with Origin.
So check out the session, and then when you're done, you'll be able to do all sorts of different materials other than wood, and you'll know exactly what to do.
And join us live next time, 4 p.m. Pacific at shapertools.com/sessions. We do giveaways, do live Q&A, all kinds of fun stuff. Hope to see you there. But for now, enjoy the show. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Shaper Sessions. My name is Jake.
And I'm Russ. Oh, wait, no, I'm Sean.
Welcome, Sean. Welcome back. It's always good to have you.
Been a while,
Yeah.
but I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, we kind of eased you into it last.
That's right.
2 weeks ago.
A little slight one, on the side, and then now I'm going to be here for a little bit. So
Yeah.
excited to share some stuff.
Yeah. And speaking of stuff, we're doing an alternative material show today. Because, of course, Origin can do a lot more than just cut wood. So we're going to show off cutting foam. We're going to cut cork. We're going to cut plastics, specifically HTPL.
And brass.
And brass. So, and how to use all of those things on BenchPilot and the little tips and tricks that we use to get the best results.
Yeah, it's going to be a fun one. If you are just getting into the Origin system, you might think, hey, a lot of stuff is wood, cutting wood. We're going to walk you through all the other materials, which they have little different material properties and, you know, a lot of fun stuff you can do with the different types.
Yeah. As always, this is a live show, just the way we like it. So use that comment section, please. Ask all those good questions. Ted is going to be in the chat collecting all those. The ones that he doesn't answer on the spot, he's going to put in a doc for us to go over at the end of the show during the Q&A section. Also, about halfway through the show, there's a poll question that's going to pop up. You got to answer that poll question in order to enter our giveaway. We're going to give away some fun stuff at the end of the show as well. And I believe the question today is, what was it?
The question today was, what would you like to see in the next free system update?
Yeah.
And so we'll talk more about that when it goes up. But that kind of dives us right into the start of the show.
Software updates.
There's a new software update for you. If you're the owner of Origin, either Generation 1 or Generation 2, Monterey has just been released. Let's pop over here, and I'm going to walk you through some of the changes. So first up, the main thing that we're going to talk about today is Encoded Depths. So if I am in a workspace and I have some shapes in here, and I have a couple different shapes, this is a little chisel holder that we would mill out of foam. If I go into cut mode, boom, we're going to see the depth of that shape right on screen now. And so this is a pretty big update. It used to be hidden behind this cut depth button in this area, but now whenever you hover a shape, you're going to instantly see that show up right on tool. And so that just helps you understand that, hey, this shape is supposed to be cut to 3/4 of an inch, but my cut depth is currently 0.08. And so it just gives you a guide. So when you're going in here, you can either work your way up in passes, or what's great now, we also have the transfer button. So if I open a shape and I'm hovering over it and the encoded depth exists here, I'm just going to click transfer, and that's going to automatically update me. And so that's basically the way it works. It's pretty painless. So if you're not an AutoPass user, you're going to cut in steps like you normally would. Like maybe we first cut this at 1/4 inch, and then we cut it at 1/2 inch. But on that last one, we would just hit transfer, and we would be right there at the right depth. And so we've also simplified some of the icons. So now you're only going to see a green check mark if you're at the depth of the shape, and if you're over the depth of the shape, you're going to see a little pop-up. And if I tried to cut that, let's ignore that. If I try to cut that, it's going to warn me, hey, this shape's supposed to be cut to 3/4 of an inch. Are you sure you want to cut it to 0.8? Now, if you're like, yes, I do, for whatever reason, you can just go ahead and plunge and it'll go. But this will help you keep cutting something too deep. So that is the basics of the encoded depth. And yeah, it's pretty exciting. We're really, this is one of the things we've been wanting to update for a while. We put out encoded depths maybe 3 or 4 releases ago. And this is a little update to it. So that's the main things. You can now transfer your depths straight over, and you'll see them in the workspace. And that works for everybody. So enjoy those updates in Monterey.
Yeah. If you haven't plugged in your tool in a minute, make sure that you are signed or logged into your Wi-Fi, and that update will show up automatically in the top right corner of your screen.
Yeah, I did forget one other small little detail. So I'm going to quickly load a different workspace. Let's load this one. And what you're going to notice is when I come into this and I hover this shape, I'm not going to see anything. And that's because this shape doesn't actually have an encoded depth. If you open this, you'll see that that encoded depth is unset. And now there are some reasons why you would not want to encode depths. Maybe you don't know the depth you're trying to cut to. Maybe you're testing different depths and you just want to enter it in and apply it, and you don't want to deal with any of those warnings. But one of the cool things is now if any of your encoded depths are set to anything, and we'll just update this one right on tool. So now this one has a 0.25 inch here. If you hover any other shape, it's going to show unset. And so if you ever load a workspace where you're seeing unset, that's going to warn you, hey, something in this workspace is set to a specific depth. And especially when we get in the BenchPilot world, that's going to help you understand kind of what depths are going to be cut. So that's just a little tip. If you see unset, that means at least one shape is encoded in your workspace.
Nice.
Cool.
There's one more thing.
There is.
It's a big thing.
Okay, what is it?
Monterey works with BenchPilot.
It's true. That
It's
is
necessary.
That is a big part of Monterey. So yes, in order to make BenchPilot work, you must first upgrade to Monterey. If you're on any of the earlier releases, you won't be able to communicate. So if you get your BenchPilot and you're not already updated, which you should be, you'll need to update it first. And then that will, we've shown a bunch of the Monterey features for BenchPilot, but today we'll go through a few more as we're cutting some of this.
Yeah. Speaking of that encoded depth feature, this is kind of the perfect project for that because you have an array of depths going on underneath you. And it's nice to just be able to kind of scan over the top and see, all right, that's supposed to be that depth, that's that depth. All right, cool. Feels good.
Yeah, why don't you try it? Yeah, I mean, this is like one of the perfect projects for encoded depths because you have all these different pieces that are different depths. And as you can see now, when we just hover over them, we're getting a little preview. And really it's just making sure that, hey, quickly you can check around and make sure everything's at the right depth. And so, yeah, we cut out a bit of this earlier, but we thought we would show you in BenchPilot the rest of it. And this is kind of, we're cutting foam. If you haven't cut foam before in Origin, it's pretty easy.
It's probably the easiest.
Like getting into kind of alternative materials for Origin, this is a really good intro. It's not that hard to cut foam. The only thing you really need to think about with foam is if you're cutting too fast, or if your speed of the spindle's too fast, sometimes you'll kind of burn up that foam. So you know, the main thing with foam, you're going to slow down your spindle speed more than you would with wood because you don't need to be cutting as fast. And so, like talking through the basics of it, we're going to cut this one, and it's going to be about what speed?
3.5
on the spindle. And then let's go to the screen, and we can look through the speeds of the tool. And one of the interesting things about foam is you can cut pretty deep in one go. And so you don't need to follow the standard rules of routing wood where it's, you know, whatever your bit diameter is, that's how deep you can go per pass. Jake likes to go all the way down. No, single passes only.
Yeah. So we discovered that Sean and I have a difference of opinions, which something tells me that's going to happen a lot in coming sessions. So prepare yourselves. My opinion is 1/4 inch by 1.5 inch long O flute. That's that super long O flute that we sell. Full depth, large offset, or like no offset in this case because it's all pockets. Yep. You're going all the way to the deepest thing, and you're just plowing through all that material.
I really like a 1/4 inch downcut bit, and we don't really talk about downcut bits very much with Origin. In general, it's a little bit harder to control and make sure you're getting nice chip evacuation. But what I find, at least when I'm cutting foam, if I want a really clean top, and I don't want to post-process it with a heat gun and try to melt it away a little bit, the downcut bit that's a 1/4 inch just plows through it and like leaves a really clean finish. And so typically when I'm doing it, I'll do like probably 2 passes total, not full at once, because I think with the upcut bit, you're evacuating all those out. Right. But with the downcut, you're kind of pushing it down and essentially pushing it into the trail of where the router's been. So Yeah, this is the beauty of woodworking and Origin in general. Is like there's always 10 ways to do something, and you should try out and see which one you like better, because everything's going to have pros and cons, and you'll have to deal with whatever the cons are with whatever you choose.
Yeah. I think I just have a general aversion to down cutting bits because
yeah.
it's partly my job to make sure that this place stays intact, and down cut is a lot of dust pushed down into the cut path. So use with caution.
Yes, correct.
With anything.
But yeah, this bit we sell, the upcut, that's a O-flute, evacuates the foam really well. Really good bit. And the beauty of this bit is it's so long.
So long. Inch and a half of cutting flute length.
Yeah, and like you're not going to find that in a 1/4 inch down cut. So this is like clearly a winner in the ease of use category. So let's show them how it works.
Let's do it. All right, I only have 2 parts left to cut. I'm going to go ahead and
check your speeds too, because I changed a few settings.
Check my speeds, my auto. I'm going to go ahead and bump that up with my scroll wheel. And plunge, I can go back to the default. That feels good. Preview by hitting the green button. It's showing me just the remaining parts that I haven't cut yet. So 3 out of 40 paths.
And that the key point to check on up here is that top depth icon is going to show you mixed here. And that's because the 2 shapes that we're going to cut have different depths. And so that's a good indicator. Hey, if I was expecting those both to be cut to the same depth, this is not going to be what's happening. So, you can pay quick attention to that, and then just be like, yep, that looks good. And then you're ready to roll.
Sweet. Let's let it rip.
All right. So, intro to feature number 1 in BenchPilot on Monterey is toolpath pocketing. So what we're looking at here is a pocket shape for this. If anyone knows what this is, it's the angle guide for the workstation. And Origin's just going to automatically path that pocket out properly so that BenchPilot can clear it out. And this is something, in the past you would manually clear it out to your own liking. But on BenchPilot, we need a little more structure there. So Origin's just going to automatically create those toolpaths based on your bit and the shape and quickly clear it out. And so this is kind of nice. You don't have to think too much about how to clear pockets out or what algorithm you're going to use or any of that. It's just tell it what you want to cut. We're going to figure it out. Currently, it does a half of the diameter step over. And so you will want to think about that if you're clearing a lot of material with pockets and inside cuts, but in most cases it's totally fine. And so you can see here Jake's just plowing through it single pass. Right now we're at about 0.4 inches, and it's just going to continue going around. Now if you weren't doing single pass, it would actually do multiple depths for you and figure all that out, so it's pretty painless.
Whenever it's doing large pockets like this, is it saves the final pass, essentially the cleanup pass, saves all of those for the end.
Correct. So it's going to go through and pocket everything out to a rough dimension first, and then it'll go back and do a kind of what I would consider an inside cut automatically for you. And this just helps if you're trying to fit something and you're not quite sure what it is. You can just modify that. One of the beauties of BenchPilot is kind of being at the ready all the time. You can stop it whenever you want. In some cases with foam, what you'll notice is the pieces that you're cutting out will get sucked up or get stuck in the bit, and sometimes you have to stop it and just pull out a big chunk of foam that's come off. But in general, it's pretty much like cutting wood, just a little easier.
Yeah. Here we go, coming around.
Yeah, so here it's now doing
pass.
those inside passes.
That's what I noticed with foam too, is that if you have 2, like I like how much it's taking off here on the finish pass, because if that finish pass is too small, foam is so soft that it actually just gets pushed out of the way rather than sliced by the bit.
And you'll see this in like foam and cork when we talk about that pretty soon. Cork has a very similar property where you want to make sure you're taking off enough of a bite to get a good cut. Otherwise, it just kind of tears out. Whereas wood, when you have those tiny offsets, you get really nice finishes. But some of these softer materials like foam and cork, you really want to make sure you have a good enough bite at the end. Okay. Very nice.
Sweet. So that is all cut out.
Take this back over here.
I may come around and just pick off any stragglers that I see. But the finish touch, good old flame polish.
Oh, here we go with the
Or
fire.
a heat gun is actually a lot more safe. I just didn't want to deal with a heat gun heating up and cooling down while we're live. So a little bit of just a light pass. Singes the ends.
Yeah, it does clean it up very nice.
Just looks beautiful.
It gives it kind of a nice, finished look. Like this part right here.
It does.
So
notice I'm just like real quick
Yeah.
passing that flame or heat gun over the top.
Yeah, you don't want to do it too long; it'll melt. You just want to hit it, and you'll see it. You might not even have to see it on the camera, but the edges will just kind of shrink out, and it's almost like a little roundover bit,
Yeah.
So, okay, so that is foam. Is there any other tips you got on foam? I got a good tip for
Not
foam.
all foam is created equal.
That's true. There are
Yeah.
a bunch of different types of foam.
This is the foam that comes in the Sys1 sustainer when you buy it, or any of the sustainers that you buy from
It's a nice firm foam. If you get something more like the Kaizen foam or something that's much softer, that's going to cut very differently with a bit, and you'll have to definitely change your speeds and kind of dial it in. I would say for any of these types of materials, get a little piece, do some test cuts. Don't go straight to a final piece. You're going to find issues, and it's always nice to get a little test cut in first. You'll notice I have a bunch of little pieces up here from when I'm test cutting. I'm just grabbing a little piece and making sure the speeds and feeds are dialed before I really dive in on like, okay, I want to cut the whole thing.
Yeah.
My tip for foam is when you put double-sided tape down on the bottom side of foam, especially if you're cutting all the way through, be very careful, because when it gets through there and it starts cutting through the tape, that's going to spin all the way up and shred all over the outside of the foam. And so if the outside of the foam is really important, you really want the double-sided tape in an area where you're not cutting through it, because that stuff just, on wood, you can sand it out and get it out on foam. It's basically going to, stick to that, and you won't get it out.
So maybe leave an onion skin?
Yeah, leave an onion skin and like cut it out with a little, a little knife or something, or just like put the tape in spots where you're not cutting through.
That makes sense to me.
Yeah. Other than that, that's foam.
That's foam.
Pretty easy.
What you got next for us?
All right. So this is a pretty new material to me, but I want to talk about cork. So a friend of mine, Melanie, she's a wood turner online, and she turns these pieces out of cork. She was moving from Oakland back to Portugal, where, fun fact, most of the cork in the world is produced there.
Cool.
It's very popular there, and I purchased some from her before she left, because she had these huge blocks that were like 2 foot by 4 foot, and then they were 12 inches thick. And so I purchased some of these blocks and started playing around with them. It's a really fun material. It's a natural material, and a lot of the properties you get out of something like, how do you get something that's kind of like resistant to water, resistant to other types of spills, etc. And I wanted to play around with cork. So I was making these little coasters, and I'll come to here. These are just some really simple shapes. I designed them in studio and used BenchPilot to cut them out. Actually, Jake wanted to show you this pocket on
So
these.
pretty.
One of the things you'll notice with BenchPilot, if you've ever struggled with getting a perfect bottom on a pocket, the key when you're doing it is kind of keeping the same pressure down while you're cutting. And as a human, that's pretty hard. But BenchPilot has a very standard amount of weight. While you're cutting, it's going to give you these kind of perfect rings on the bottom. And so I cut these out on BenchPilot, and now I'm going to show you cutting some foam. I also purchased these really cool pieces. I don't know if you're going to be able to see it. Maybe I'll bring it over here. These are laminated cork, and so they basically take all the offcuts from what you would put in a cork bottle and they press it at a high pressure, and it's just some beautiful stuff. So I wanted to make some little cork coasters with this, so let's go ahead and set that up. Yeah, and there's so many different types. You know, maybe Jake can show these off while I'm setting up. This is a pretty cool one. Those are they basically grind up the cork into tiny little pieces, and then press it back together. Sometimes it's all natural, and other times there's like a glue bonding agent. But you can buy it on all different colors, natural, unnatural, dyed. It's some really cool stuff. I've been thinking
one's toasted.
Yeah, that one's a toasted, so it smells like it almost smells like it's like burnt a little bit.
Yeah, that's nice.
I did want to. I haven't done it yet, but one of the things I've been wanting to do with it is Jake made these tripod stools for BenchPilot that are really easy to cut, and I really wanted to. I have a big enough piece that I wanted to inlay the cork on the top, so when you sit on it, there's like a nice cushion.
Oh, that'd be cool.
And it's just got a nice look. So. All right, so I'm just going to put this in the workstation with some double-sided tape and come over here. I'm going to start a new scan. Okay, lift it up.
And now, as you're getting set up, you have the O-flute bit in there.
Yes.
Do you want to swap that out?
So this is one of the cool things about cork. So with foam, we do like that O-flute or a nice down cutter. If you're trying to use the up cutter, 1/8 inch works not bad. The up cutter 1/4 inch on foam, I don't really like very much.
Mm-hmm.
Cork, doesn't matter. You can pretty much put anything in this and it'll
Nice.
be fine. Obviously, the O-flute's going to cut really well because it's nice and soft and you have a single thing that's evacuating all those chips up. But this is a material that you can pretty much use anything with.
It's not going to melt on you like plastic.
Not going to melt. You don't have to worry about melting. I mean, it is technically it's technically a bark of a tree, so it cuts similarly to a soft wood.
Excellent.
Okay, so let's come in here. I have my file that I created in Studio, and I'm just going to find it right there. Sync that over. If you're not using Studio, I mean,
What are you doing?
what a beautiful little tool we have here. It just makes so easy for these simple things like this. We could build this on Tool probably as well, but I've been digging Studio lately. Okay, let's go here. I'm just gonna turn this to a guide since we don't need that for now. That's a little pro tip if you're not into the Origin system really deep. If you're in a space and you pull a file in and you don't need something, just change it to a guide. That way you can't accidentally cut it. And then right here, I only have one file that I can cut, and it's a file that I need. So next step, let's measure this cork real quick. See those calipers. Now we'll just send those in. Okay, 0.425. Okay.
I'm jumping ahead here, but did you put finish on your coaster, right?
Yeah, so these are not. These I would not. You basically don't need to do any type of finish work. It's a naturally finished product, which is kind of sweet.
Cool.
But yeah, you can put oil on it, wax, whatever. But in this case, especially for a coaster, the friction is really nice for a bottom of a mug or a can. I wouldn't put too much of anything on it really. They're just naturally the right amount.
Excellent.
Okay, so I set my depth. In this case, let's go ahead and use AutoPass, and let's see what our settings look like. Let's add a roughing pass. If you're not familiar with AutoPass, it's an added extension on the Origin that allows you to cut this without having to input manually. So you can just set your final depth, tell it how many passes you want to do. In this case, let's do 2 passes, and yeah, I'm just going to do a quick Z-touch. Now, this is one of the things for mixed material. When you're doing Z-touch, what you're going to find is sometimes the automatic's fine and sometimes it's not. In most cases, especially these softer materials, I do like to just manually use a manual Z-touch, and I'm just lowering it until it starts scratching a little bit, and then boom, set that, and now I'm perfectly aligned. Doesn't matter if my bit was pointy and it was going to protrude into it, or if you have a very small bit and you're trying to cut something like brass or aluminum, you really don't want to necessarily do that automatic mode just to make sure nothing happens to the bit. And so now that we're set, I'm just going to cut. We'll check our speeds real quick. Like I said, really doesn't matter. I will lower this auto speed down just a little bit, and let's cut it.
Oh, that looks like a dream to cut. So he's got that built-in offset 0.025, which is a default that comes based on your bit size. So he's got a 1/4-inch bit in there. So it's going to automatically give you a 0.025 roughing pass. On over to the finish pass. There you go.
Okay, so let's see what we got here. Peel this up. Jake, maybe you want to show that off in the camera over here.
It looks like Jupiter or something.
Yeah, I kind of like that these, and this is one of the things where like Origin's visual system really is like so nice. These things are very unique, and you can pick exactly where you want these to go. So I've kind of been pretty, I'm picking out spots that I want to see and where they go. And then here we go. One of the beauties of the Cork is, it's pretty soft and allows, you can even just like do a tight fit. And like in the ones that I did, I didn't even glue them in or anything. You can use wood glue; it will glue like normal. But yeah, there's a little Cork coaster. Now, a couple little. Oh yeah, here we go. This is kind of this is the fit. Very nice, tight fit. And then what I would do is, I would just take this over to the bandsaw and I would zip it off. And one of the things you'll find about Cork, it doesn't machine like wood on a joiner and a planer. And so when you're trying to kind of mill it, you can't really use joiner and planer. I tried, it just kind of rips out. It doesn't really work. So really the bandsaw cuts it really nice and clean, and you can actually sand it afterwards. Yeah. Cool. This is a pretty easy one. So if you're into some alternative materials and you want to get started, try to find some Cork. It's really easy to cut, and honestly, it's just one of those things that, like, for certain applications, it's the right answer.
It is the right answer. If someone were to try to look this up, what would they?
That's a great question. Maybe come to the forum and post a question, and I'll try to find out how we can get some.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right.
So that's foam. I think that's it.
Let's go ahead and scoot over to the mid-show break. Got a couple of announces. Now's a great time to bring up that poll question again. We are curious. What would you like to see in a future free system update?
Yeah, so if you haven't been around, this is our 13th large system update. Obviously, there's been some other small ones in there, but 13 big ones. And would love to hear what you'd like to see in it.
Yeah.
So please, in the poll question, put that, and then check us in the Q&A session, and maybe we'll give some stuff away.
Right on. All right, while that's up, just a reminder, if you haven't yet updated to Monterey, please do. It's a great update. No reason why not to. Fun new features and the ability to use BenchPilot.
Yeah.
We're going on the road.
Oh, we are.
We're going on the road.
Are you going on the road?
I am going to a couple of roadshow stops in the West Coast, but Shaper is hitting the road and going. In Germany, they're going all over, or in the EU, they're going all over the place. Here in the US, we're doing an East Coast run and a West Coast run. Please go check out the landing page for Roadshow, and you'll see all the locations that we're stopping. But we're loading up a van with BenchPilots, Origins, everything we need, and traveling from spot to spot, doing demos, trainings, doing giveaways. It's going to be really cool. And it's all like out in the parking lot too.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, on the website, you can see all the specific times and dates and where we're going to be. I'll probably show up to a couple of them. Jake's going to show up to a couple. I'd love to see you there, meet you in real life. You know, it's fun to talk to you through the internet, but we also love meeting people in real life. So if you're around, come check it out, and it'll be a great time.
I'm super excited for it. Yeah. And if you just want a reminder, you can go ahead and hit get notified or notify me to make sure you don't miss when it's in your area.
Perfect.
Nice. What else? Oh, so next session, it's actually not 2 weeks from now. We're going to take a little Labor Day break. The following session, I will not be here, but Audrey will be here.
Audrey and I are going to show off some studio stuff because there's been a lot going on in the studio world.
A ton of studio stuff.
So we're going to do kind of a deep dive on a lot of those changes and talk about some cool projects. And yeah, we're excited to have Audrey on. So if you have questions for studio, as always, forum's a great place to start the discussion. And we're always reading and we'd love to help make the show helpful for you.
Cool. I'm excited for that one. All right, and then last but not least, our shop tour for today. PSA, we're running a little low on shop tours. I would love it if you could send us a tour of your shop. 3 to 4 minutes, landscape orientation, narrated, please. Doesn't matter how small, doesn't matter how big, doesn't matter how messy. In fact,
I'm really looking for a messy one. You know, I want one that's like, you know, dust everywhere and you know, a real wood shop, you know.
Yeah. But keep it 3 to 4 minutes, please, so we can show it off.
And film it in landscape.
Yeah. Send it to sessions@shapertools.com, and I will get it.
Nice.
Cool. Today we have Crystal Palmer. We're going to hope this video works this time. It will work this time.
Hit it, Goose.
Hey, y'all. I am Crystal. I am out of the DFW area in Texas. This is my tiny shop. Everything I have is on wheels or on walls, and as you can see, I have not cleaned it just for you. It is in its most raw state it could possibly be. Things are moved around constantly in here because I don't have anywhere to put it. So just to kind of walk around, this is my CNC storage all over the walls. Of course, air conditioning because Texas. Sanders over here, drill press, bandsaw, storage, workstations, saw stop, of course, and daycare. My dog, she'll chase the laser pointer for hours, so, you know, she's happy with that and content. She's out here a lot with me. More storage, my bench grinder, my Shaper Origin workstation, which I just finished actually putting these handles in it, in this chaos cutting boards that I'm working on. Mini joiner, which I rarely use, my lathe, and that's it. I mean, really, shortest shop tour ever? I don't know, but yeah, this is my space. This is what I work in. Thanks.
I love it. Thank you so much, Crystal.
I didn't know I was going to get a dirty shop that fast. I just put it out there and we got one. Love it. So thank you, Crystal, for sending that in. We'll get you a little gift bag. And if you have not sent a shop in yet, please do so we can show your shop off.
Yeah. If we show it off, you get $50 to the Shaper store. Why not?
What's not to love?
All right. Ready to get back into it?
Let's get back into it. All right. So what's next?
Moving on to plastics. Cut
nice.
acrylic before. They're all pretty similar, you know, as far as
what's the key with plastics?
The key is going to be slow spindle speed because it melts.
Plastic melts.
Fast feed rate.
Yeah.
So you're keeping that bit moving. You're not dwelling in any one area.
And you'll know if you're going too fast because you'll have a bunch of plastic gunk somewhere.
If you're going to, yeah.
If your spindle speed's too fast, you'll see the plastic just melting. And so, you know, what I like to tell people is slow the spindle down as much as you can while you're still getting a good cut. That's the right speed normally, because it's very easy to crank the speed all the way up to 6, but we're not going to be doing that. There's very few situations where you want to be cutting at speed 6. even when you're cutting wood, I try to tell people speed 5 is probably the max you want to go. And what you're going to notice, especially with BenchPilot, now that you're making longer cuts, now that you're not doing it by hand, you're going to want to even slow your speeds down in general a little bit more because, at this point, you really need to get the speeds a little bit closer to what they should be cutting at. So, especially with plastic. But the beauty is with BenchPilot, it drives at a very consistent speed. So if you set that speed, you're going to get it. You don't have to think about it. If I'm driving too fast or slow, or use auto lock to try to chase it around, just set that speed and go.
So today we're cutting HTPL. This is a 2-color HTPL, thin layer of black with a white core. So we're going to it's perfect for signage. HTPL, nothing likes to stick to it really well. That's a great thing about it.
What's the difference between HTPL and HDPE? Do you know?
That's actually what I mean.
Okay. I was like, I'm pretty sure that's HDPE, Jake.
The other stuff is like a resin wood board that
okay.
Andy over in Germany likes to use, and that's been on my brain.
I see, yeah.
HDPE. Don't ask me what it stands for.
It's great for outdoor signs. If you ever go out somewhere to a park and you see signs that have like a color on the front and then a color on the back and it's cut through and you can read the signs, it's probably this. It stands up really well in the sun and temperatures, heat, etc.
Often used for ADA signage.
Yep.
And it's got a nice texture to it.
It does.
Right off the bat. So I'm going to go ahead and start a new scan. Just a reminder how we scan in BenchPilot. I like to click in to start.
Yeah, and when you're in BenchPilot, the scan window is going to be a little smaller because we're ignoring that bar right on the front. And so in this case, you can see Jake's not going to be able to image that whole area, but that's fine. We're just going to go ahead and save that scan, and then he's going to quickly remove it and add the scan to finish that image. It's really easy to get BenchPilot in and out of, or Origin in and out of BenchPilot. Just clip it in and clip it out.
All right. We made just a simple sign on Studio with some single line font.
Yeah, if you're not aware of what single line fonts are, essentially it allows the bit to just cut a single path and you get a really nice output. And so, especially for signs like these where you want a really readable sign from a distance, single line fonts are pretty much the way to go.
Yeah. I'm going to do this in two different setups. I'm going to cut my outside first. Which is set to 0.5 depth. That's set to 0.125. Tap that green button to preview cuts, and I can just edit my selection.
Yeah, so on BenchPilot now, by default, it's going to select everything that can possibly be cut, but you have the ability to down select to very specific things in case you're cutting with different bits or you want to try different things first. In most cases, it'll cut everything in the right order, but if you need to do a specific ordering, you can just down select, cut that thing, select the rest, and cut that.
Yeah. So I'm going to go ahead and let it cut this perimeter. We're, again, running spindle speed 3, feed speed, bump that up to, I'm going to start at like 37 and then maybe even go higher as we go.
Yeah, and as we start this cut, we're going to look into where it's cutting and make sure the chips are coming out in a big chunk so that we're not getting tons of little. We want to get big chips on kind of any of these types of projects. You really want pieces to come off, not dust. And so we'll just kind of look inside there while it's cutting and adjust the speeds accordingly.
Let's do it.
And don't forget the Z-Touch. So if you're not familiar with Origin, Z-Touch is an automatic touch-off routine that just allows Origin to understand where the top of the surface is. So when you type in 0.5, you'll get that cut depth. Now, this is great size chips, Jake. You can see here these little pieces coming out. One of the things about the HDPE is it cuts really beautifully. And so you'll see those little strands come off. And if you see them like that, then you know you're in the right territory of your speeds and feeds. I also noticed Jake's doing a little no-no, but I'm going to let him. We typically tell people to cut, your engravings first and then leave the outside cut for afterwards, because if for some reason your double-sided tape fails or you accidentally hit it, it's a little harder to realign. And so if I were doing this, I would probably have cut the engraving first, then this. But hey, we're not going to tell you how to do it. If you want to cut the outside first, that's your choice. All right, so we're coming around on that finishing pass. You can still see chips look really nice. We're not getting any burning of any sort. We're just getting these big, fluffy white chips coming off. The bit is the 5mm O flute, and so this is probably my favorite bit in the catalog. I mean, those are perfect, Jake. I mean, couldn't be any better.
That's kind of what we're looking for.
Yeah,
nice little pieces.
Yeah, so that 5mm O flute, probably my favorite bit, especially for alternative materials. I mean, we're going to use it for the brass coming up. It's great for plastics. It's a really rigid bit with a smaller cutting diameter than the 8mm finishing bit.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's just something, I don't know, it just works for a bunch of different materials. One of the things we've even found is you can cut pretty aggressively through hardwoods with that 5mm O flute, which is not very standard for a lot of other bits, but for some reason that's the right stability and size of bit to really rip through hardwoods.
Yeah, it really can. I just chucked up our 1/4-inch bullnose bit.
So if you didn't see it on camera, this has a round bottom, and so when we cut this, we're going to get this kind of nice shape.
Yeah.
And one of the cool things about single line fonts is you can kind of use whatever size bit you want, and the depth is what's going to make the width of the letters. And so when I'm doing these letters with single line fonts and kind of rounded bits in the bottom, start light. You can always make it deeper. You can never put material back, and so just start small and cut one and see if you like it, and then you can always make it deeper and then cut the rest.
Yep. We're gonna go straight to 1/8 of an inch.
Okay.
Ready, set. Let's go.
Yeah, and you'll see once we finish carving this, there's just some really cool look when you have that HDPE color shift. And it really doesn't take any effort. You don't have to pour epoxy and wait. You don't have to sand it, anything like that. It's like as soon as it's cut, it's done. There's nothing to do on this stuff. And so, yeah, for real simple signage, it's just such an easy material to work with. Stands up to the oh yeah, look at that, Jake. It looks really nice. It'll stand up to the weather for the rest of the time practically. Nice.
Super cool.
Yeah, and what you'll see, if you wanted to go less deep, you wouldn't have as deep of a cut and the letters won't bleed out. So it's kind of a design choice while you're cutting how deep you want it to go, what you want to see. But yeah, it's just zero finish work, just quite the material.
That's not why I got into woodworking.
Yeah?
It's all about the finish work.
Jake just loves sanding. That's all I know. Okay, so that's HDPE plastics. If you're cutting acrylic, kind of similar. What you're going to notice is the acrylic is one of the harder materials to cut.
Likes to melt.
It likes to melt, and you really just need to work your way down to a very slow spindle speed, probably 2.5 to 3, with a very consistent feed rate. So if you're running it by hand, you're going to want to make sure you're running it maybe with auto lock on, so you can do that. I would say probably 20 inches a minute. And then the other one is lower that plunge speed, because when you drill into the acrylic, it's a very hard material. And so you want to lower that plunge rate down to like 5 inches per minute, so that when you're going through the passes, it's a nice clean cut.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice. Okay. All right. So we've gone through foam, cork, plastic. Last but not least, let's talk about brass.
Brass. We get stuck.
So, and when we're talking about brass, you can kind of think of brass and aluminum pretty much in the same category. If you're cutting brass or aluminum, you're going to use the same feed rate, speeds, etc. This is a piece of thin brass here, about 1/8 of an inch. We also have a thick bar. We also have another piece. Now, there is one thing to talk about when we talk about brass, especially cutting with origin. Brass comes in 2 types. You can get extruded brass or cast brass. And what I can tell you is you want cast brass, because if you do extruded, you're going to have a much more difficult time getting a finish quality that is feeling good. And so this one's going to go here. This is a cast piece. I did find out the hard way earlier. This is not a cast piece of brass.
No.
And I can tell you how, because when I was cutting it, wasn't cutting cleanly. I was wondering what is going on, just couldn't figure it out. This is a pretty bad look of cutting brass on origin, and we'll show it here. So you can see the edges are really rough, and really what's happening is while it's cutting, it's kind of taking that brass off and heating it up and then welding it back into the part it just cut. And so if you're seeing this, you may have extruded brass. Now
It's not you. Brass.
You could probably keep working on this and get it better, but from what I've seen, you really just want to make sure it's cast brass, because once you do that, it's going to start cutting like butter. So let's talk about brass in general. So brass in general, a little bit harder to cut than wood. We're definitely going to have to change how we cut, and specifically how deep per pass we're going to cut. Now, you can experiment with different versions of this, but I like to kind of think of it as a very simple way. We're going to cut in 0.02 inch steps. And if you're doing this with origin, without auto pass, you're just going to type 0.02, add 0.02 every time you make a new pass.
So 0.5 millimeter.
Yeah. If you're doing it with auto pass, just set that pass depth for yourself, and then you're just going to drive in circles until it gets there. And same thing with BenchPilot. You're still going to use 0.02 inch passes. Now, if you want to try changing those variables, you can obviously do so by adjusting the speeds, auto speeds, and the depth per pass. But as a starting point, I normally say this is a pretty good one. We're going to also use an O-flute. And so like we were talking about plastics, especially the acrylics, we're going to want to use a single O-flute cutting bit. That's just going to help evacuate those chips really well. I'll show you these. These are 2 we carry in the store. These are 1/8 inch bits. Let's put this right here. These are 1/8 inch bits that have a single flute that goes all the way around. They're upcut flutes, and they have a 1/4 inch shank. So they have some stability with a smaller area here. And these work really good if you're cutting thin brass. If we're cutting thicker brass, I like to go for that 5 millimeter O-flute. It's really stable, and just from what I've seen, it really cuts brass very cleanly. So we're going to use that one on this cut here. And so we've got our depth per pass, really shallow passes we're going around. The other thing we need to be careful with when we're cutting brass is we don't want to do a finish pass at a 0 offset after we've taken these tiny little chunks. So when we do that, we're actually going to turn the roughing and finishing pass off in the settings of BenchPilot, and we're just going to manually set global offsets so we can properly get a nice finish.
Okay, just getting rid of what we did previously. And I've scanned in my brass bar.
So it's in the hardware in the hardware, and then you can scroll down. It's a couple pages down.
There it is. Shaper tools, 2-inch barbell. Pop that right there.
And then you'll need to change it from an inside to an outside.
Yes.
As well.
5mm. The Z-touch directly off the top of the brass. Right? Yep, I got 5mm in there. There we go. Swap that to an outside. And let's dial in our auto pass settings.
Okay, so that roughing pass, we're going to turn that off, because if that's on the final pass, it's going to take the full depth and change your offset to 0. And that's quite a lot when it comes to brass. And so the way I like to think about this is we're roughing out the shape, and we're going to use that by setting the pass depth to 0.02 inches. Okay, and that's going to give us a bunch of passes. Hey, guess what? On BenchPilot, we don't care.
It doesn't matter.
It's just going to do it for us.
Yeah.
And that's one of the kind of things I love about BenchPilot and brass is it really the time that it takes doesn't really bother you. Okay, now the next thing we're going to do is we're going to go to the speeds menu. We're going to check that out and make sure our inches per minute plunge is about 5. Because brass is also much harder than wood. So we need to slow the rate at which origin plunges into the material so it doesn't jump when it's getting deeper.
Yeah.
And then auto, we'll probably change it close to like 25. Let's start there and see what we got.
That's pretty quick.
Yeah.
I like
and then last but not least, we need to change the offset globally. Let's do 0.01. So we're just going to cut this first roughing pass with a global offset, so we're off the shape by a little bit, and then we're going to come back, change the settings a little bit, and then we'll do that finishing passes.
Nice. I changed it to 1/8 of an inch deep instead of 1/4 inch.
Perfect.
Just for the sake of time.
Yep.
Great. Spindle at 3.
Spindle at 3 sounds great. This is one where you're also going to be checking the size of chips that are coming out. So similar to the plastic one where we've seen those big chunks coming off, that's great for plastic. On this, we kind of want the same thing, and we'll grab some of the chips before they get vacuumed up. We're looking for like little nuggets of gold. That's kind of what I like to find.
All right, let's see it.
Okay. Yeah, so nice and easy on the brass. You can see those little chips shooting around. And we just want these little tiny flecks of brass coming off. Yeah, you'll hear it almost sounds a little, it's not going to sound like wood. It's going to sound like you'll hear the little chunks coming off. And like I said, I would just get some cast brass. Maybe start thin. You don't need to go, super thick like this, but maybe some 1/8 inch, some 1/16 inch thick brass is a good place to start. And just do some test cuts. Cut some circles, cut some rectangles. Get a feel for what it takes to get good cuts, because it is going to take you a little more with brass to kind of get things that you're probably going to be happy with. It's definitely not the easiest material to work with, but one of the things I love about brass is it really brings up like the quality of a piece of work if you're having these little brass accents, either little pulls or bow ties or whatever. So, you can really accentuate the wood. Brass and walnuts, like one of my favorites. That combo is just beautiful. So let's see what we got. So these are the little chunks here. And these are actually a little smaller than I would like to see. So let's see if we can get in on this. So these are just the little pieces here. Now, these are a little smaller than I'd like them to be. So one option would be to speed origin up, and that's going to make a bigger chip. Or two, slow the spindle speed down, and that's going to revolve in circles slower, meaning we're not going to cut as many times when we're passing through a material. And so with these, I would probably slow the spindle speed down, or speed up origin a bit.
Okay.
But now, so that would be like a roughing pass. Right? We're just roughing this shape out. Now we're going to want to go back and change our offset to 0. And then I would do less passes. Maybe I would do 3 of them. And so this is going to do 3 passes around, just removing a tiny bit. But it's going to keep you from having a really hefty cut at the end, especially if you're cutting, 1/4 inch, 1/2 inch brass. You definitely don't want to be taking that at a full depth.
Yeah.
Okay,
Let's do it.
Yeah, and with all these alternative materials, you're just going to need to do test cuts. You're going to need to practice. Everything's going to behave a little differently, and you can only really learn that through repetition. So buy some of these materials. One of the beauties of these materials, there's always tiny offcuts, little pieces that, you can find at the store just to play with them. Don't cost much. And so, yeah, you'll find some really interesting ways to incorporate these materials into your projects. And it's just really nice to be able to machine non-ferrous metals at home with origin, aluminum, brass, copper, all those materials. You never know when you're going to need to, cut a little piece of copper or, a tube. So, yeah, exciting stuff. Yeah, when you're doing that final pass, you're just everything's so small, you're not going to see it. But if you want, you could put another one beside it, and we could speed it up a little bit and show, like, maybe here I'll save some of these over here so we can compare them. Yeah. All right. Yeah, because I think this is the thing that is hard to get across on video, is like, what's the thing that makes it work correctly? And so having these little details is really nice. But you're looking for pretty big chunks. And a lot of times while I'm watching it, I'm looking in there to see how big are those chips that are coming off. And then I'm just adjusting on the fly, Oh, yeah, so those look better already. All right, what do you think? Better. Oh, yeah, better. Yeah, so these are definitely a little bit bigger. Let's see if I can get a couple out. Okay. So a little bit bigger here than they were, and you'll see, you're getting a lot bigger of a piece here than these little tiny pieces. Oh, okay, let's see. Well, they fell off my finger now.
Like a sliver rather than a...
Yeah, so just play with it and make those chips bigger, because the bigger the chip is, the more heat that's coming out with it. And so if you feel the brass getting warm, you might not be taking a big enough chip out, because that most of that heat should be going with the chips. Yeah. Okay, so that's the basics of brass. If you have any questions, we'd love to answer them for you. We can show some more live demos in the Q&A, but that's the show.
Yeah.
Have a good day.